Um, you know, as a target individual, they try to make you forget the reality of things, and the perps here, they tell me how I'm gonna be tortured, and I do believe it. The reason why I do believe I'm being tortured already now, but this time it's gonna be a theatric torture. One is because I've been putting reality in their faces. People who do create deluded reality and wanted to live that fantasized reality. Man, it's just nothing worse to create that fantasy. They first of all they want to be so mystic. The I mean my targeting is very common to others. Targeting individual, we are test subjects. The tactics they utilize onto us is very systematic. Everything that is happening to you have been done to others. I have no doubts who I am. I know that what I'm experiencing is being manipulations of my body and my brain being manipulated to this point. I don't even have a doubt. I know perps are gonna try to gaslight me every time they force me to get sexual stimulation toward children because this is a tactic they utilized to break target individual down. Is a breaking down tactic. For example, I was making space in my phone for me to make videos, and it was because what I do every time they manipulate me, I take a screenshot of whatever manipulation they make me have. In this case, was a woman holding a little kid, a little girl, a little boy. I'm not sure, but I got a little sexual. I got sexual stimulation. You can hear me struggling to speak. It's because they in my brain trying to make it hard for me to speak. And this is the things they do. It's obvious. I don't have doubts. But these perps are gonna try to gaslight you. When I say these people have no shame, they have no shame in the sense that they don't care how stupid things sounds like. They have zero shame in that level. And for me, I'm like, I love that because I'm gonna put that in your face. When I mean no shame, I'm not saying shame to torture me. That's not the thing I'm bringing up here. It's the shame of how obvious that they do what they do. The shame is to the level of like, don't you feel uncomfortable? Sorry, not even comfortable. Don't you feel awkward when I'm out here listening to clear testimonials of people saying the same thing as me, but on top of that, the testimonials of what they do to children. On top of that, the testimonials of how they torture women. On top of that, the testimonial of the torture women and children. On top of that, the consistent manipulations. On top of that, as they try to make me believe now it's their money, they're doing this research. These perps have no shame. I'm like, wow. I can clearly hear that this is obviously a program that is run by governmental entities linked to the DoD. The Department of Defense is using human subjects as test subjects. This technology is what one might call this 21st century weapon system that will attack the body and the mind using energy weapons. The tactics with the mind attacks consist of degrading reactions and stimulations and thought process that are supposed to push somebody into suicide. They use this technology onto target individual and utilize all different disgusting degrading tactics, manipulating the target individual to think in certain ways, to react in certain ways, and control the human being, the target individual in this case, in whatever ways they want to. It's about mind control. It truly is about that. That's why the Department of Defense is dedicating so much effort and financial resources for that. It's clear. They've been working on that since the 60s and maybe even before that because we're talking about the Korean War. They use the same technology on other target individual. There's a lot of us, and that makes sense because when you develop something, you need a lot of samples and databases. That's how the development continue to grow. That's why this technology has become this sophisticated. It's clear. It's clear. It's just, but these people have no shame. I'm like, okay, it's your research, right? Yeah, you're my okay. Wow, you're investigating. Oh yeah, no, they're mapping. So what they do sometime with me, well, they do all the time, is for me they're not doing the things they commonly do to people, right? What you're gonna hear, the pedophilia type of torture, is other target individuals do that, get that treatment, but me now, me they're mapping. Or actually, they say this: we're mapping now. And what they mean by that is they make me experience these experiences that they make my brain experience, but they say it's paired to something that I've experienced before. That even though my brain is being reconstructed, it's being reconstructed from my own brain, which to them makes sense too. You understand how illogical it is? They're saying they're reconstructing my brain, but the way they reconstructed it is with it. It's like, no, they're altering your brain, basically. They're altering your brain for you to experience whatever they want you to experience. They stimulate you whenever and however they want you to be stimulated. They are changing your brain for you to experience whatever you experiencing today. And then they try to gaslight you. They use this trash, this slow life. Very childlike people. And that is the best part is when you say a grown ass smart person who quote unquote supposed to be smart. 2 seconds in front of you become the most retard you can imagine. Sorry for the language. Oh, thank you for giving me this dignity. What do you think it does to somebody like me? Not to say I'm a complex person, but I'm just saying that you think that if anything, you don't make me feel like I'm more dignified. Because you, 2 seconds ago, can show me how smart you are, but look how retarded you become. You think I'm not going to put that in your face? You think I'm going to let you escape? Target individual, one thing is for sure, do not underestimate how low somebody can go. The shamelessness here is needed. They need to do that. Because, unfortunately, there's a purpose behind that too. It's called gaslighting. They're trying to gaslight you into accepting this manipulation. They have no shame, like I said, as obvious as it is. And when I'm in shame, please let me tell you, this is not the shame that they torture people. The shame that they still try to create a facade of this retardation of logic. It's comical. The shame is they can look at you and look at be mad when they just force you to get this stimulation or sensation or whatever reaction that can be manipulated for you to experience. The keyword manipulated, meaning they have to adjust things around. They have to change you for you to experience that. You know, in my brain, some of the battles is like, yeah, but it's you. We did it. Can you imagine? Try to even like do that. Imagine you're in a pro. Well, you're supposed to make somebody accept that. Yes, we're changing things around, but it's your things that we're changing around. Whatever you're doing is not something that I would experience naturally, unless you in my brain changing my brain one way or another. My brain will not experience that. You are making me experience that because you're stimulating things, you're rewiring my brain, and you're doing other things in order for me to experience that. This is not something that organically my brain will experience, but with you in my brain able to change my brain, I will experience that. It's clear. One thing they love to do is to try to make you believe. Now, it's for me one thing they do is specifically, and as I'm speaking, it's becoming very much a struggle. But I will continuously speak until I can, because I understand the power of the words. Um, One thing they want me to do is to think, oh no, we're mapping to you as a child. The reason why they like to use me as a child is because what you see here. The name of this video is called "You Impacted." This perp have no shame, like I said. Why? And let me just repeat that when I say no shame, they have no law of or in regard of how they can just dumb themselves down or how stupid they don't care about looking like. They've created storylines that whatever ways you can imagine with no shame. Today is this, tomorrow is that, and I'm like, you guys aren't you embarrassed? Like, where do you find the strength to be shamelessness to that level? To that level, like I don't like, and that's why I think children in this case as perps is amazing. They think they're like in a support. They think they're like warriors and a war. They're just trash and loser. That's funny. They'll tell me after this is done, they're gonna be debriefed. I'm like, okay. I don't care whether I debriefed or not. I'm just glad I didn't have to live life like you. And let me just say another thing before I go on to what this impact thing is about. They tell me how they're gonna frame me, right? This is the amazing part of it all, and the thing is fierce when they do it. And what they're doing is payback. They're avenging. So what we did, we dare to say, do we dare to use the children here? And I mean, I know it's done, and I'm actually, for some reason, and maybe it's my pettiness at this point, I'm looking forward to seeing the quote unquote victim. I say quote unquote because they tell me that's how they say they're gonna frame me, right? They say that they're gonna come up with a story, or they've been coming up, or they've been saying that I've been raping children here, or some nastiness of that nature. And some children here, I say, are gonna say that I raped them. Now, listen to us, how no shame, and the level of retardation that they have, and on just hear what I just said. Let me repeat that. They're gonna use children here. How these children say I raped them? First of all, as a parent, if they ask you, can we use your child? This guy over there, we're gonna say that he raped your child just because he needs to pay. Let's just say you hate that person. Let's just say that person killed your mother, killed your sister in horrible ways. If you had a child and you loved your child, would you ever come up with a frame saying, hey, okay, my child, say that that man raped you? Even that is crazy. You even want to do that. You handle it in ways without involving your child in this way. You understand how nasty these people are? That they will let their children, and the reason why is because there's incentives. I'm sure the financial incentives are there. I'm sure they're going to get some incentive one way or another that is just beneficial. That's why they do that. That's why they're willing to compromise their children in these ways. It is so disgusting, but I'm like, okay, send, do that. And the reason why I'm saying like nobody else that care about their children would do that is because they know the reality of it. I'm saying that of course it's going to work in regard of like the frame is going to be a frame. It's the government running this program. It's not even going to be, if when they do these things, right? I don't expect to be with the front of a judge that's going to be a non-involved judge. I don't think the whole thing is going to be just theatrical, because this, as a target individual, the government is running this program. Everything around you is orchestrated. I'm not saying that part. Of course, it's going to go there. I don't even know why they even have to create some kind of trial. If they when they use this framing, there's not even needed for that. But of course, it's going to happen because they're going to try to make it look like this is not this program. But going back to that, you have your child involved in that. As normalized as you try to make it be, you just made your child pretend that she was raped by somebody, and that went even officially, publicly. This is for life. Your child or your children are for life. Their frame will always stick with them wherever they go. It will always be written somewhere that these people, these children, were raped, and that means that they will continuously have that frame on them forever. They will have to be pretending for the rest of their life of something they've manipulated and falsified. I'm like, wow. Well, I wish nothing but this kind of life for these people. And so they tell me they do that because they want to see me be tortured and this and that. Can you even imagine? You just did that to your child. You know what you just did to your child, right? Forget about me. Okay, I'm tortured, I'm screaming, they're gonna rape me, they're gonna cut me down, this and that. I'm gonna scream more, you'll watch it, and then I'll die. Okay. Your child will, for the rest of their life, it'll be always written somewhere that she was raped when she wasn't, and she will always have that on her. I pray that they continue to live this low lifeness. And so you hear these perps tell me how I'm gonna be tortured, I'm gonna be cut in pieces, I'm gonna rape today, they're gonna use you, they're gonna do this and that, and I'm like, okay, God gave me strength for all of that. Matter of fact, God, not only God gave me strength for all of these horrible things, gave me the strength to deal with and be strong through all of it, but also give me the strength to run to it. I want these people, when they watch me go through whatever, ask themselves, why would this guy run to something that is so painful and so horrible? And the truth is, it's because I know it's gonna come to them. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be raped too. You think you need that for you? A scratch can make it worse than what I'm gonna go through. A scratch can be this. It will give you a bigger fear than what I'm gonna go through. My point is, I don't want them to. I don't want them to be tortured and burned and nothing. No, the way I want to, I want them to live life right. I want them to just like enjoy things, have things to lose, and then have something happen to them really quickly, and all it takes is that moment for reality to check. Oh, but you saw me scream. What happened? We thought where? So I love that. I love when they try to bring that up. They don't understand the concept of like me. I'm gonna go through these horrible things with this level of dignity. It's gonna be horrible, but I have dignity. You're trash, a bottom feeder who's involved in what you're gonna hear. Can you imagine on a deathbed? Jesus, I would be terrified of even getting a cold if I was doing what they do. I would be terrified to even contemplate death, my mortality, doing what they do. Even if I'm dying from, let's just say, a common disease, I would be terrified of that. Well, me, of course, I'm sure I'm gonna be scared to whatever extreme torture I'm gonna go through. And it's gonna be extreme, but I think I'll be less scared going through this extreme than this trash going through the minimal that they can go through. Okay, now let me bring up this thing about impact. For them to just try to make themselves believe this fantasized reality because they know what they're part of is truly evil. They're involved in a program that does not only harmful things to men, but torture children and women in horrible ways. That's what they're part of. It's funny, like I said, they have no shame, right? Oh no, it's our torture. This trash can even say Roy Moore. I keep bringing it up. Please, it's clear, very clear, that they have this consistent tactics of trying to make it seem like this is anything but this massive government. This technology that's destroying and rotting my organs is obviously not coming from these retards living next door. But they have no shame. They have no shame. So they try to create stories in ways that they can create them. You see this thing about impact. They have created this storyline in fantasized reality, and I know the truth. They even make themselves fake angry, or even when they make themselves angry, it's just like they try to block out everything else but that. And I'm not gonna let them fucking block it out, because when they see me, they'll see me looking at them for what they're truly involved in. They will have no doubt that when I'm looking at them, when I look at you as a human being, I know exactly what you're part of, and I can imagine being trashed like you and involve yourself in that, and then try to be a badass. Some of these most retards, you think they are somewhere else. This childlike people like live in a fantasized reality, but I truly see them for the fucking trash that they are. I was on a call with somebody with a child, a baby. the same age of, or around the same age, a child of some target individual was being tortured. Can you imagine? You try to block that out, but try to come up, but leave it within these falsified storylines they put together. Now, let me just get back to this. Impacted. The reason why I use that word, you just saw a video not too long ago. This person that you see here is somebody that this trash around me are as acting like they're just avenging her, acting like she wants justice. Came up with storylines that are so disgusting for the sole purpose to make themselves look like they're some kind of avenger. Oh, this is you deserve to die for that. I'm like, what? So if I deserve to die, torture, and all these horrible things, what do you deserve to go through, you piece of shit? What is somebody like you supposed to go through? And I'm saying that because you're gonna hear what they do to some of the most vulnerable that you've heard before. But I bring that up every day. They are trying to bring up, or not trying, they're bringing up what I did as a child. When I was in middle school, I was 13 years old, 14 years old, actually turning 14, so closer to 14, if not 14 years old. I did this thing to myself. I don't want to go into the details, but it's something I did to myself, which they've been trying to exaggerate. They've been trying to say, no, but you used her hands, and they talk about this person. You molested her. No, I did not. They even go as you raped her, and they try to exaggerate. But the truth is, when I was a child, I did something to myself. Still, I'm not going to minimize it was inappropriate, but not to the level where they wish it was, because it's something that's like inappropriate, but not traumatizing, not destructive or damaging. When I was a kid, yes, it was inappropriate, but it was something that I did to myself. Of course, not appropriate, but a child at that age, sometimes, you know, don't understand what's appropriate or not. It's a growing time of a boy, and you understand things that can be more impulsive. And of course, we know that children, especially early teens, 13, 14, impulsiveness is low. It happened once, never happened again. This trash have not come up with ways to try to make me think that this person, who's not a woman, is traumatized. Was traumatized, and things are not the same. They even made me imagine her being talking to a psychologist because she was traumatized. They made me imagine that. I'll bring up what I just said here and what I'm trying to say. As a target individual, those technology that we are experiencing are insanely sophisticated. The reason why I'm saying these things, and I try to, is because target individual, I don't want you to ever get lost in whatever ways they make you think. I will put that in their faces. And as I'm dying, I'm saying that this technology that is applied onto us, which you're gonna hear, can make you imagine whatever way they want you to imagine. They can create a stream of thoughts the way they want you to think. They've been trying to make me imagine her damaged, traumatized, and to the point where out of nowhere, I'm like, you guys can create any imagination, thought process, and implant that in my brain to make me imagine truly that she's traumatized, that truly she's damaged, that she's impacted her life, impacted. I'll come back to that. To the point that I haven't talked to her for so long. She doesn't know me, and she doesn't even remember me. which I understand. She was very little, and I was also a kid. She has no recollection of me, and I know that. I talked to her father, and he's like, "Oh, she doesn't remember you." I was like, "Okay, I don't, you know." And mind you, I didn't even remember what I did because it was such an impulsive act as a child that I completely it went out of my brain. You know, kids, if things don't even doesn't feel like it's something big or impactful, they can forget like that. They immediately after I never even thought about it ever again. It completely left my brain because it was, you gotta understand, as a child you just don't understand that this thing that you did to yourself was inappropriate, so you just, it goes away. It's just like, okay, it's like you just, do you remember that time you threw a rock there? That's how a child can imagine. A child, obviously me as an adult thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, what was I thinking? But I understand, okay, as a child, and the truth is that's what kids can do. That's the reality of things. I understand they don't like that. It's no, it's a realm of falsification and false reality. It's bad. So I ended up sending her a message saying, "Hey, how's it going? I hope I'm this. I've you know I haven't talked to you since back in the days. I was this and that. You're old. You were like very young and like a little like a kid. I was a kid but a little bit older. Oh, well, not a little bit. I was like a 13, 14. You like a little kid. I don't know if you remember me. You were we used to live like this, and it's like, I hope you're doing well. I would love to catch up with you. Please, let's connect." And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to make sure that this low life never live this fantasy. Never live this fantasy. I never want them to live their fantasy because I know she's not traumatized. I know she doesn't know me. I know I didn't impacted her, and they try to move away from a traumatized. Maybe traumatized is an extreme. It's too far. You impacted her. You impacted her. It's like she trash us. They made it. They made her even become a lesbian. That what I did as a child turned her into a lesbian. What I did to myself as a child, to myself, which they tried to change and no, but he used, it's so bad because there was this article that came up, right? There's not actually came up, it's an old article, maybe like a few years ago, and they talk about how kids at that age can do impulsive things and this and that, and you shouldn't consider this to be sexual abuse unless there was some contact of, and so they try to be like, "Tell you use her hand just to create that." I was like, okay, you're such a delusional trash. Of course, that's not true, but they can make me imagine that, and I'm going to imagine that. And so I reached out to her just for the sole purpose, because I know in reality she doesn't know me, she doesn't care about me, she doesn't think about me. I've never impacted her in any ways. Let me repeat that: I never impacted her in any ways. This doesn't even remember me, but the way they make me think. They try to make me think of, oh, you see in this picture she looks sad. It's because of what you did. You see what impacted it? As try to make me think, no, it's because that what she is. I'm like, no, she's, listen, life is life. I understand that things can impact somebody, but they try to talk about what I did impacted her. So they make me think of her when she looks sad. It's like, you see that he impacted her. She's thinking they're so trashy. She has no fucking recollection at all. Zero. Zero. Absolutely zero. And they try to create a story. It's like, you see in this. Listen, They even, let me just say this again, because I'm sure life is life. You're going to be stressed out. Things can make you depressed. So, for sure, just life itself can impact somebody. They try to see, you see how she looks sad here, see how she look depressed there. It's because she, what you did as a kid trash us. There's like a picture where she's kind of look like sad a little bit. Like, oh, you see that? It's what you did to her. It's like, no, I didn't. I did not impact her, but you can make me think that way. Even when I was coming up with this picture, because now I'm friends with her on Instagram just because of them. Just because I want to put that in their face. A picture that look a little bit like sad or unhealthy or unwell or whatever. Even if she doesn't, even if she looks okay, even if she's happy, in my brain is imagining it this way. So I had to pick. Okay, she's smiling here, she's smiling here. So because they try to make me imagine. No, no, you see, hey, the trash ass. Now, the reality of things, the truth and the reality about what they do. The reality is that these perps here are trying to block out a very, 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 very big thing here. As in regard of impacting the life of people, including children. Hmm. You gotta hear the level of disgusting things they've done to children. Let me repeat that. This program is using men, women, and children all around the world to develop this technology. These people here acting like they've just making me pay for what I did as a child in middle school are consciously involved in a program that is literally sexually torturing children. Talk about sexual abuse. They are harming genitals of even children. They are suffocating children. They are tormenting children in so many horrible ways that it's unbelievable. And then, when it comes to me, want to live this deluded reality that they are avenging and that this woman, sorry, wants justice for what I did to myself when I was a child in middle school, when she is not even, she has no clue about who I am. Obviously, what I did to myself never impacted her, never traumatized her, because it did definitely, it was never retained in any ways, and because what I did was something I did to myself. Now, it's of course it's inappropriate. I understand, but that's a child act, and what a child is capable of doing as inappropriate as a child can do because of the brain of a child is not fully there. But this trash that dare to be involved in a program that torture children, that dare to be involved in a program that even torture babies, become these daring avengers that somehow block out, ignore how they torture children. Some of these people doing that to me right now, involved in my torture, have themselves have hands-on experience doing that to children. When I see this guy who's like, hey man, we don't have there's no what was the word that he said, something like this, we don't have justifications to kill. I was like, really? So what kind of justification I have then to kill you, or for anybody to kill you? What kind of justification I have? If you have that, what do you think I have? Now, of course, I will never get my hands dirty with this low life trash. This trash will get theirs one way or another. It doesn't have to be as, they don't need to be torture or anything. No, 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 no. Let not that happen. It's not. Let it happen the way it needs to happen organically. It's gonna be the best way. Let them watch me scream, die, and then that, all that, and then wait for like anything to come to them. They won't even be able to say why. even if it happens to their children, because they got involved in a program that tortured children, babies, women, causing mass shooting. They will not have any just. They cannot even ask why. Matter of fact, they shouldn't even be able to cry. They were gods. Whatever things I'm gonna go through, God give me strength. But I refuse to give any of this low life involving what you're gonna hear an escapism of reality. No, 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 no. You think that I was gonna think about me as a kid in middle school doing whatever damn thing I did to myself that one time as a child that never happened again, that you're trying to exaggerate and let you escape into this fantasized reality where somehow you can be fantasizing in this fashion in a program where you're clearly torturing children, breaking them down, damaging them physically and psychologically, traumatizing them. Forget about the impact that they leave on these children if they survive this is surreal. Some of the testimonies you're going to hear are babies that were born in that world where their parents were target individual. They became a target individual because of that. Their their health was compromised as babies. They grew up in torture where they got blinded, their teeth got rotten, they got seizured, they got all kind of nastiness. And this piece of shit in front of me sometimes. You think that I can let them live the fantasy? And on top of that, what is even more magical of all, as they renown to do this pedophilia type of torture, to have the knowledge, the information is so official that in 2019 a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act was prompted because there was so much child porn being downloaded using the computers, the network of the Department of Defense. And the Department of Defense is the organization, not even the entity responsible for what's happening right now and running this program, where they're contracting this illusory of trash here that are enjoying the incentive that this technology and this program provide, living their fantasized reality where there's some fierce femme fatale or there's some Avengers parents that making me pay, are actually working or being implemented or utilizing this program that is run by these governmental entities that has so much issue with pedophilia that officially a bill was created to try to limit the amount of child porn being downloaded. This was in 2019. In 2019. That's not too long ago. Right before COVID. Whatever rape, whatever torture I go through, what I just said is something I'm so thankful I had that information. As this trash talking about she wants justice, are trying to block out torturing children, horrible, manipulating the brain in these pedophilia ways, messed up. But doing that while working for governmental entities that have shown a clear, consistent pattern of pedophilia issue within the organizations, the entity that is running this program, there is fate. So God gave me strength for the horrible torture I'm going to go through, and it's going to be horrible. But please, target individual, listen to this. You're going to listen to a woman with her young child testifying in front of the bioethic committee in 2011, the last time they allowed target individuals to come and speak up officially. After that day, after that, the bioethic committee meetings banned anybody who's a target individual from coming up and speaking about being a target individual. This woman came up and said, my young child and I are being used as human subjects, as test subjects, and we're being damaged psychologically and physically because of this technology. And I have 4 pages that describe the type of torture that we were going through. You know, with me, 4 is always used for, huh? Oh, look at page 4. Because they try to bring up what there's a child, it's like I remember 4. I was like, no. Remember that this woman with her young child are being tortured, and she has 4 pages that describe the type of torture that you, low life, that involved in this program that does these things to babies, have done to her and her young child. Then you hear this woman, Mariana. Thank you, Mariana, for your testimonials, describing how, as a teacher with young children with disabilities, mental disabilities, she witnessed these kids being attacked with this technology that attacks target individual. They made this baby have sexual torture. They were harming the private part of 7-year-old autistic child, 4-year-old Down syndrome child, 5-year-old Down syndrome child, targeting the private part of these babies with mental handicaps. Oh, and also a 3-year-old boy. Then you're gonna hear the testimonial of a family of 5 kids and the parents, 7 of them. The youngest is 6 months, but some of these kids that now are like a few years older, as babies, as they were born, they were born prematurely because the mother, as she was pregnant, got hit with the target with this technology, this 21st century weapon system, so bad that she went into labor. She ended up giving birth to this premature baby. Then, as babies, as young as 3 weeks old, one of the baby, they thought this baby was dying because they were making her have rashes to the point where they thought she was going to die. They told the parents, hey, your child is about to die, say your goodbyes. And they thought she was not going to live long. Oh, surprise, she didn't die. They do these things where they can make you sick and then heal you from your sickness. Heal you from the sickness they make you have. Give you some kind of ailment. Fix what they made you experience, in regard, like fix the disease they made you have, or the ailment that you have. They are blinding children, playing with their visions. They are making them having all kind of diseases, giving them seizures. My question is, there's no justification to kill people involved in this. I'm not a killer, so don't worry. I will never want to do that. I'd rather you get yours the right way. In the meantime, God give me strength for the theatric torture. But thank you for letting me see the things that I needed to see. What they've done is horrible, and they will get theirs. Because then you're gonna hear that the entities that you clearly hear are responsible for this technology and this program are top tier pedos and foul lowlifes. I will never let this lowlife try to come up with fantasy where they are somehow avenging and talk about me as a child, having to exaggerate what I did as a child, try to make this person be traumatized, damaged, impacted, while they actually are damaging, impacting, torturing, traumatizing children. If they make it to adulthood, these kids were so damaged, and whatever impact is. And so, for me, thank you, God, for being able to see things for they are. As I'm slowly fading away, oh, I would not want to be in their shoes. They are super fierce. Fiercest human beings you can imagine when they use V2K, voice to skull. The fiercest. The fiercest of the fiercest. But are truly the low life. Truly clowns and cowardness. Beyond cowardness. I just ask God to also give me strength, because if they act in front of me and try to act like they are avenging and all that, I need God to give me the strength that I will need to now react when I see this shit involving a program that does these horrible things to children, and try to live off what they can make me imagine. I can never let them live that fantasy. Target individual, listen to these testimonials and then hear how nasty this thing is.
Miss Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister, who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy, with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights. My 9-year-old son Dylan complained about the lights. You will often hear that vision is something that is greatly affected with this type of torture.
So this is what they do to children. This is the people doing these things to me. Now, the participant of this program, even though perhaps they didn't have any participation when it came to the torture of these women or children, they know that as they do these things to me, to do these things to me, it means that they involved with this. They have connected themselves to what you just heard. And some of these perps even try to use the fact that they're parents and they're doing these things for their little girls. You heard this little 3-week-old baby who is literally thought to be dying, but they were just applying this technology onto these kids. The technology that's being used on us is this technology coming from these entities. This is the technology that is being developed. Listen to these people, right? Addressing what is happening and what is happening to us, and understand the reality of what they try to block out. These people tell me that they're justified to involve in what you just heard and the horribleness they do to children. What do you think is justified to do to them? Who's connected to what you just heard? Who involve themselves in a program that does this thing? It's still happening. You can still find testimonials or people calling out, begging for help, because they are being targeted and their babies as young as 3 years old are being hit by these radiations. No, I will never let these people live their fantasy. I can hear the noise campaign right now from Perps who are trying to use this manipulation that's happening. Listen to this thing that was about a woman in the 80s who was a target individual, and then described what was happening to her. Listen to this.
Innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction, the ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems, being able to not just debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based on Alaska radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just be about triggering emotions. You can change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just.
Okay, so it's clear that this technology is coming from governmental entities connected to the DoD, and it can attack the mind and the body. And you heard of the horrible type of torture they do when they attack the body, harming the bodies in these horrible things, in horrible ways, even torturing children in these ways. Now, the psychological and the way they attack the mind is tormenting and disgusting. And you're going to hear this consistent tactic of rewiring the brain in these pedophilia ways. And this is what's really tormenting. This is the things that they push us to, that disgust us. You know, as they do this manipulation, as they rewire your brain in these ways, um, for me at least, they try to make me acceptive of these manipulations, as if it's something that I should identify with. The logic, as they make me have these experiences, is like, no, you experienced that before. It's what we're doing is, we're making you feel an experience that you've experienced before in my childhood. That's what they try to say, and they're not altering the brain, and they are changing my brain for me to have this disgusting reaction that I'm forced to experience toward children. My brain has to be altered. I will not have any of this reaction or stimulations unless, or even thought process, unless my brain is manipulated. And that's what they've done to others. And I will never let them live the fantasy, because these perps really want to break you down into accepting these manipulations as if you're not being manipulated. But this is a clear type of torture that they do. They apply onto target individual and then try to break you down by whatever deceptive tactics into accepting this manipulation. Listen to this.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
And that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things, that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words, in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Ben said this the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually
can be used to this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
They use these monarch style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds, and vice versa.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
So you can clearly hear that this obvious tactic of breaking down a target video. It's obvious that they put people down these disgusting ways, and pedophilia type of torture is this cognitive weapon system or weapon tool they use onto the target video. Is so disgusting. And with me, they like try to be, no, but what we've done, we mapped this, we mapped your brain to you as a child. No, they are altering my brain for me to have these manipulations. And they, on top of doing that, to make me accepting of that, there's some of the things they do to try to make me think, no, but you see, and it's just a lot of manipulative tactics using this technology to make you feel doubtful of it all. And this it's just obvious that they do this pedophilia type of torture, and it's clear. But the disgusting part is, you heard DARPA and DoD entities are involved in this. Well, the reason why this is happening, they are the one developing this technology, and they really and they're truly are the entities behind what's happening. But the funny part is this tendency of trying to make it look like that this is anything but this massive government that is the Department of Defense behind this. And with me, it's the same. They try to make it seem like, no, it's our money, or this different type of maybe governmental entities that's like avenging or some trashiness. They're foul of life. These people are not avenging. They're just utilizing me as a guinea pig, just like they've utilized children as guinea pigs. The facades comes in all shape or form. But the reality is this: we're just test subjects, and these governmental entities related to the Department of Defense are running this program. When I mean related, I mean the Department of Defense is behind this. Of course, I'm sure other agencies are involved, but there's no denying that the Department of Defense is obviously the entity that's truly in charge of this. Listen to this stuff.
Part of the team. And say we're the Russian information couriers, people that will carry the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so, anyway, what, our inner mind.
So you hear that, right? And this massive government is the Department of Defense, which, for these perps who are trying to make you believe that they're this avenging, mapping your brain and this and that. The sad reality that this low life actually working for governmental entities that have had issue with child porn and pedophilia for a long time. It's so disgusting. Listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want, and you certainly don't have the right to use it in a criminal manner. So essentially this bill is trying to do, again, two things. It's trying to limit that and crack down on the misuse of those computer systems, but it also is going after those individuals. One of the things that this bill attempts to do, and there's a Senate version of it put together by Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, but essentially what these two bills are trying to do is say, look, the Department of Defense does not have an adequate way of responding to this, of tracking down.
Brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you? Oh, that's the thing to...
According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018. Meadows said the legislation could close security gaps in the Department of Defense's network to identify perpetrators and ultimately hold them responsible. Reps Anna Eshoo and T.J. Cox, both California Democrats, co-sponsor.
So, what else? What else? What other validation? What you understand? This trash, whatever ways they try to counter reality, reality is in their face, and I'm making sure it is always in their face. And they're gonna make me go through horrible things because of that. They still are here telling me how they beat, they won. It's like, yeah, I know my brain is, my brain is gone. I understand it, but man, the level of countering reality this trash have to do, and the way they have to paint themselves in this fantasized reality, when in reality what they're part of is what you just heard. The entities that run this program, you hear the issues. In every way, these people have been destroyed. Clowns of all sorts, clowns of all gender, trying to make me accept of this. I will never let them live the fantasy. To all my target individuals, stay strong and don't ever identify with whatever way they will try to paint you as, however they try to vilify you, whatever storylines they try to come up with. They have no shame. They have no shame of how falsifying they can be. Zero. And they'll try to act accordingly and use whatever stupidity of logic to try to get you to accept this. Target individual, maintain strength, but be thankful for one thing. You could have been living the life that they live. And like I said, it's not because they're living a struggling life. They're not living a life of poverty. At least most of them not. They're living a comfortable life. But that can end in 1 minute, in 1 second, in a millisecond. They live life not thinking about death when involved in a program where it's all about pushing somebody into death. They're doing everything possible to sign up for whatever can come, and they cannot even say why. They try to play these Avengers. You hear who's avenging here. You hear what they're involved in, and the falsification because of what this technology can create in your mind. They fully take advantage of that. Target visual stay strong. But the people who have impacted the life of women and children are the people doing that to you, especially children, especially what they do to children. See, you heard what they've done to these poor kids, sexually torturing them, suffocating them, blinding them. They'll get what comes from them, whatever they deserve, and be reimbursed properly. But I'm so thankful I never had that on me, that I can never be connected to something that has impacted men, women, and children all around the world in this traumatizing way. While they play this fierce femme fatale avenging, this is reality. So I'm talking individuals stay strong.